Getting pumped. I know my shit, but I'm getting pumped.
Today we have a guest, Vladimir Tokoi. Welcome.
Thank you.
Vladimir owns a couple of e-commerce web shops and knows a lot about demand forecasting and demand planning. Today we're more talking about demand planning. So how to know that your inventory is on schedule when the demand comes. So, would you introduce yourself?
Sure.
What kind of web shops do you have?
First of all, thank you for welcoming me here.
Thank you.
Nice to be here. My name is Vladimir Tokoi, and like Tommy said, we run 2 e-commerce websites right now. Both websites are concentrated on mobile devices. So the first one is spare parts and installation kits. So if you, for example, would like to change battery for your Huawei that doesn't have an openable, like easy exchangeable way, you can buy a kit from us. So you get the battery, you get the tools, and all the instructions are posted online on our website. So you don't, if you want to buy somewhere else, you can do it too. So you can just check the instructions. And the other shop concentrates more on preventing breakage of your mobile devices. So we sell tempered glass protectors, screen protectors, cases, for example, different kind of. We try to concentrate on particular kind of products, so we don't have like million different products, but only the ones that we consider right now to be the best possible choices for your mobile device.
Okay. So it's a niche e-commerce business.
Yes,
that you.
Yes.
Okay. Good. So let's start talking about demand planning. My name is Tommy Gröfels. I represent Sniffie here, the price monitoring tool. And today we are talking demand planning. So, what's it all about, demand planning?
Well, easily put, demand planning is figuring out how much stuff will you need in the future. And in e-commerce, for example, it's easiest probably to say that you have a stock keeping unit and you try to figure out how much the sales.
Let's put it here. Yes. SKU. Please continue.
SKU.
Yeah.
So you try to figure out how much the sales will be in the future. And if you have made to order products, you might be considering how much raw materials would you need in the future. Because even if you make something to order, you still need to have the raw materials for that. So when the customer orders something.
Sure.
But let's keep it simple. Let's just talk about e-commerce stock keeping units.
Yeah.
That way.
So let's say that it's a box.
Yes, a box, or like this marker, for example.
Yeah. Box full of markers.
Yes. But
Okay.
let's just say that it's only one type of marker in the box, so
Yeah.
we can say this is a stock keeping unit. It's a particular product that we don't have any variations of. And it's you can say that we have, for example, 1,000 pieces of particular product.
Okay.
Alright. So let's just maybe draw a quick graph here to maybe visualize better how forecasts might look. So let's say here you have money, and here you have time. So let's say this is 2017.
Yeah.
And here we have
2018.
2018. We are somewhere around maybe here right now, in the autumn when we're filming this. So let's say that you have a simple kind of product that doesn't really like the simplest kind of product. It would probably look something like this. So we first brought the product to the market, it was 0, and then it started growing, and maybe you are somewhere here now.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a very incremental.
Yes. So you have introduced the product and it's quickly, well, more or less it's been spreading out and growing organically. Yeah. So it's pretty easy to, if we are right now at this moment, it's pretty easy to forecast this. You can just say, yeah, this is the forecast, this line here in the future. And unfortunately, it's very rarely like this. So the different things that you might want to know is that the product, for example, it could be seasonal. So it might not be like this. The product might be going like up and down, like this. And it might also be growing at the same time in the future. So it makes it a bit more complicated. Then other things, for example, marketing. If you have a big marketing campaign.
So let's put up here, what are the things that actually influence to your demand?
Yes.
Okay. Let's put demand here. And
Or
then,
let's say more forecast.
yeah, okay, demand forecast. Yeah. So one is of course history.
Yeah. So past sales.
Yeah.
Probably your
History
biggest
slash
friend here. If you, for example, have to automate forecasts, you might just look at history and try to project it in the future with certain safety stock. That's the easiest way.
Okay.
Then you have organic growth, so it's probably not a trend. So it's more something like this. So you know that your business is growing, all the product groups are growing. You're opening new markets, you're opening maybe new shops. You're maybe investing more in marketing.
Marketing? Yeah.
Marketing, yes. People hear about your company, the word gets around. I would maybe say that this kind of marketing campaigns is something that can affect your forecast.
On a shorter term as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's say that your business has been growing like this, and then suddenly,
mid, maybe long even.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's say it's been going like this, but then your sales department tells you like, we're going to sell this warm gray colored markers.
Or lipstick orange.
Or lipstick orange, yes, sure, why not? So we are going to have a big campaign for this. So we're going to give like discounts and all that things. So we expect demand to double.
Yeah.
So then your forecast would probably be somewhere here for 1 month, but then it will go back. Or maybe it will be slowly more back to the normal line. So there's many different things that can affect the outcome of the forecast. And of course, it's impossible to say that the forecast must be accurate. You should be thinking more of whether you have noted all these things in your forecasts, like marketing campaigns, growth, history, and maybe we should add seasonality also.
Yeah.
Because some businesses there's very little seasonality. For example, I don't know, maybe if you're selling chairs, only chairs there inside, there's probably some seasonality. But compared to ice cream,
terrace chairs?
yes,
Terrace
chairs, more seasonality.
Yeah.
The indoor chairs, less seasonality. My assumption. And for example, in my business, in consumers electronics and related items, it's usually the autumn. That's bigger seasonality because people are buying stuff for Christmas, and before that you have big announcements on the mobile market, like new iPhone and stuff like that. So that's affecting my seasonality, for example. And it affects a lot. For example, if you don't know that, if you just look at the history and make forecasts, let's say you sell ice cream and you don't think about seasonality at all. At the end of the summer, you will have freezer full of ice cream because you assume that the growth has been going, and you think, yes, September we're gonna sell double what we sold in autumn, in August, and of course you will end up eating your ice cream by yourself.
Yeah, but that would be a nice autumn anyway.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
So yeah, all these things.
So my question is now we understand the basics. There might be million other small things that actually influence. And now we need to understand that in smaller companies, it's much more straightforward.
Yes.
In bigger companies, especially if you're still a manufacturer, it's much more complicated. But let's stick to the basics.
Yes.
So how do you do the demand planning now that you know what are the variables that actually change?
I would maybe say more demand and supply planning.
Okay.
Because they go really hand in hand. You don't make forecasts for sales. I mean, yeah, you can probably make them for reports and for like financing and stuff like that. But the way I have done it, and I use it in demand and supply planning, it's just that you need to buy things. So you need to, in our example for e-commerce, you must have items in inventory, but not too much and not too little, just enough, so that you, the next time you order something, when the order comes, the optimal situation is that you only have safety stock left. Or maybe a bit less of a safety stock, because consumption might be higher. Yes. So that's the kind of a thing. Supply and demand go hand in hand.
Okay.
So the way I really combine these two is that I use days of supply. And this is the kind of metric that.
So let's put that as well.
Yes. DOS.
DOS. Days of supply.
Yeah. And this is one of the metrics used in stock management.
Yeah.
But you can also use other. People use like turnover, for example, how many times the item is turned over during the year. It's a number, let's say 3, 5, 8 times during a year you have to order.
But then you actually order bigger amounts as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I like days of supply because it's really just a number of days. Let's say you have.
Let's put days here.
Let's make an example. So you have.
There's 365 days.
Let's say your demand is 2 items a day. So you sell two of these markers a day.
Or you sell 1 today, 0 tomorrow, and 3 the day after.
Exactly. So on average,
it's an average
demand for, let's say, last 2 months have been this.
Yeah.
So what you're really looking at, you're not looking at the whole big picture, you're looking at history. So you're looking maybe at this kind of small target area, or maybe this. And if you just project right here, it's not actually that bad. If you know that you don't have like big seasonality in marketing, short-term planning, not long-term, short-term planning.
Sure.
So let's say that you sell average 2 units a day, and you have, let's say 30 units in stock.
Okay.
So you have stock for 15 days, right?
Okay, so let's put here 15.
15 days.
So let's say that this would be, it's not probably in relation, but let's say that it's 15. Do we put DOS here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Or you can just write days, because we're talking about days.
Okay. 15 days.
15 days of supply.
Yep.
So in 15 days your 30 units will be 0.
Yeah.
And now you want to use this information to make a purchase order. So let's say your supplier on average in the past has supplied items lead time of purchase order, which is from the moment I think, yeah, I need that, to the moment that, okay, we have it. Let's say 30 days, right? So we can write here also 30 days.
So that's 30 days.
So now you already have like this kind of bigger picture of how much do you need to buy. And on top of that, I would suggest using safety stock. Because for this simple kind of model, like we said, we have all these other things affecting it. And if you're doing really simple kind of forecasting, you should really have some sort of safety stock. For example, I use safety stock of 14 days.
Okay.
Which is good for me, but it might depend on the delivery accuracy of your supplier.
Let's put the 14 days here.
Let's put 14 days here.
Yeah. 14 days.
Delivery accuracy of your supplier and also variation in history. So if your demand is like this, but on average it's like this, you probably want to keep this as a safety stock.
Sure. Because you don't want to, of course, have too much stock here and too little here.
Exactly. So that's the way you can utilize available information to make a good guess in the future.
Okay.
So if you
so this will be 59 days now.
Yeah. So you know that at the moment you make a purchase, you should have, let's say, 60 days of supply.
before you do the order.
Yeah.
At that stage.
Yeah.
And then when you count into, for example, marketing, if you're adding more marketing, you think that okay, I might speed up 20%.
Yep.
So you actually then
But
take
your
that
days,
20%
but your days
quicker.
don't change. That's the best thing about it.
Yeah.
Your days don't change. Only how much per day do you need? That's what the forecast is. That's what changes.
Okay.
So it's underlying basis for all of this. You know how much days you need to have in stock, and the rest is just forecast calculation. How much will you need per day in the near future? That way you can make rules and calculations actually also, because it's quite easy if you run a small e-commerce business, let's say, it's quite easy to calculate in Excel using your sales data how much per stock keeping unit are you selling right now. So I'm looking, for example, I'm looking at -2 weeks, -1 month and -2 months. So that way I know if my days of supply, if they are much lower in last 2 weeks, it means that the sales are growing really fast. So I would rather use last 2 weeks days of supply to calculate the amount of pieces that we need for this.
Yeah.
So in this case, if we average 2 units, it would mean that 59 multiplied by 2. So we would need to buy around 118 units. Or you can just round it to 120, for example.
And then you put a bit of safety there, let's say 130.
I think you already have it.
Okay, so you would use this even if you have higher growth?
The higher growth would be not in days of supply, but in the forecast underneath. So it would be, this is the forecast.
Yeah.
So if, let's say, if I see that my sales are growing now in the last 2 weeks, I might be using 2.5. That way, when I use the same days of supply calculation, the pieces amount will be bigger. Higher.
But it's still the same in days?
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course this varies depending on your supplier. I have various suppliers, some have lead time of 2 weeks, some have lead time of 30 days, for example. So I need different kind of purchasing. But it's really easy to automate in Excel, for example, or some sort of online, like inventory planner, for example. It's pretty good. Pretty good online software.
Sounds simple enough that even I could use. Sounds simple enough. Okay, now we have the basics, but I know that you have an interesting project that you're trying to find out, not even that latent, but signals from the market that there are new products that you should be listing. So tell us a bit about that as well, because that's a very interesting.
It is. I think it's what in e-commerce is very important. Figuring out what kind of product to bring at what moment. So product development practically is knowing what to buy, new products, what to buy and when. The way I use it, for example, I have a report that tells me that the biggest operators and retail chains in Finland, for example, have brought now a new model that they are taking orders in, so it's pre-order, and they're delivering in 1 month.
Okay.
So that way, from that report, I can easily say that, okay, the 3 biggest operators have, for example, new iPhone coming up in a month. So in a month, I already need to have my products ready, because they are supplementary products. So like tempered glass and cases and stuff like that.
So that means that you actually have set up a monitoring for these not competitors, but
we're not exactly competitors in this case.
But in a way, they supply the initial demand.
Yes.
They sell the unit, and then after a certain period, people start to need repair parts or maybe a cover or something.
Yeah. Usually, when you buy a new phone, well, not everyone, but pretty big part of people really want to protect it because it's expensive. So they go online and they go for example, tempered glass screen protector or something like that. And I need to have it at that point. So that's the new kind of demand, because you don't have history here. And you don't have organic growth. Only thing you have is marketing, and you can use maybe history of other products. So let's say if it's a new iPhone, I look at the sales of my products for iPhone a year ago when the new model came out. So I tried to figure out maybe the other iPhone model was selling like this, and then I make the forecast based on that.
Yeah, so
But
let's put a bit of red so that people
Yeah.
can see. So let's say that the iPhone 6 sold like this,
And
and now they're rumoring it's much, much better, so you would expect that, you know, it would pick up this way.
I expect that if I quickly draw, maybe it's easier. So let's say this is exactly the amount of time last year that the iPhone came out. This is the amount when this iPhone comes out. So I look at the last year after it came out, my products were selling like this, starting from this X amount. And this is what I assume now this year. So I look at the past history and I say we sold, for example, 2.5 units a day when it came out. I assume, even though I don't have history now in my demand planning, in my forecasts, I use this as a basis. And this is like the best basis I have right now. And of course, once we have 1 or 2 weeks of actual sales, I will see whether I was right or not. Where should I correct my forecast? Maybe it's here because iPhones are more popular. Maybe it's here because Huawei, for example, is taking their market share in Finland.
True. And I guess if I were you, I might do it so that I'll take the marketing already immediately when I hear that there's an iPhone. You probably put a landing page or something that you start to monitor.
Yeah. It's mostly AdWords.
Yeah.
And search engine optimization, stuff like that. If you're first in the market, you're probably the first.
Yeah.
First, then in the long run.
Yeah. But that means that if you notice that there's a significant interest in your landing pages or adverts, to know that okay, compared to this time, it's a bit higher or lower. So you can also take it into account when you make your purchases.
Yeah, and see how much money goes to marketing companies, and if it's higher.
True.
But also, most of the time I just look at the sales, because in my kind of business, when I spend, let's say, 100 euros on a marketing campaign, I already have results.
Yeah.
So I already have people buying stuff. Remarketing, of course, comes later in, but I know how to count. It's about some certain percentages of the actual right-away sales.
Okay.
So I just look at that point of history. But before you have history, you have to improvise. And that's a bit hard. I think many, even big companies really fail at this when they bring new products to the market. If they evaluate incorrectly the demand, they end up with a lot of stuff in their stock that they have to sell with discounts. Or can't sell it all. If you have a shelf life of, let's say, a couple of months, you might end up with losses.
True.
If you don't do this planning correctly.
So this is more to do then on the part of educated guesses.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you gave us all a lot of thinking. I think this is basics. But hey, we're here to give you the basics. We'll go deeper into the subject later on. Thank you for this. I think we'll remember now that it should be mainly done on stock keeping unit level. Maybe the 80-20 rule again. Concentrate on the 20% that brings you the 80% of your value.
You can utilize maybe for the lower items, you can utilize days and safety stock. But for your most important items, you might want to utilize other systems.
Yeah, true. And then days of supply. Interesting key figure to follow.
Very simple.
Very simple. It's actually quite catchy, to say the least. DOS. It's not a denial of service, but it's a days of supply. Now we know this small little increment also. Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And give us some topics, ideas on who to interview more. We will have more later on this autumn on different topics of e-commerce, and we'll get back to you with more videos. If you want to throw us ideas, do it through Twitter, our Facebook page, Sniffie Software, or send us an email, give us a call. Thank you.